Warning. This program may contain material of an explicit or graphic nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Broadcasting undead from the B Ward, this is Mortem. I'm Dom.
And I'm JD. And today, we're once again foregoing our horror news.
That's right, we've got a special guest coming in live via Skype satellite.
Yes.
David Argonoff. Agronoff. I better say it right before we get him on the line. I was thinking Argonaut.
Yeah. He is an author of horror, science fiction, things like that, as well as old school punk rocker, like myself.
Yep.
So we got a lot going in common.
Yeah, he's got a lot of books either out or in the works. He's author of Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich,
which I loved. Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich is amazing.
Awesome. I've got the book right here in my hand. I'm going to read it as soon as probably this week. Or actually, I'll probably read it when I'm in a neck brace next week. So.
Yeah, you won't have much else to do. Yeah, so. Dom's going to be under the knife.
Yeah, I got under the blade. Yeah, I got some spinal injections yesterday, and supposedly on July 7th, I'm getting my back surgery. So
sweet.
Just waiting on some test results to make sure.
I sure hope cancer. So. Get your back feeling better.
Yeah, feel like a human being again.
We'll take this show on the road.
That's right.
We're going to be traveling like gypsies.
Like a band of gypsies.
A band of gypsies.
We're going to be like a Traveling Wilbury song.
Yes, we will. So, like we said, no horror news because we're going straight to the interview after we go to...
It's time for the good movie. And the bad movie.
Alright, so time for the good movie and the bad movie. I heard you got quite a stinker and a pretty good one.
Real shit.
I got... my bad movie isn't that bad, and my good movie is... It's pretty good. It's not the best, though.
Yeah.
So, I will start this week.
Okay.
With a movie that's streaming now on Netflix. I heard of this a long time ago. I never got around to watching it, and I've heard good things about it. It's called The House is October Built.
Fuck that movie.
Have you seen it?
Fuck that movie.
You've seen it, huh?
Yeah.
2014, directed by Bobby Rowe, who also is one of the characters that stars in it, as well as the co-star is the writer. So these guys, it's probably a passion project of theirs or something. Yeah. It starts out framed like a documentary, and I liked at the beginning. I was like, oh, I didn't know this was a documentary. Cool.
Yeah.
Documentary on haunted houses? I'm in. And then, dun dun dun, found footage.
Yep.
Found footage.
It's
haunting us.
It's some fucking bullshit.
So 5 friends travel in an RV to find the scariest haunted house.
Which is something that I would want to watch.
Yeah. Sounds pretty sweet, right?
I love haunted houses.
Yep. Along the way, they are filming it like a documentary, but the camera work is shaky to the point of when they're in the RV just like hanging out, some of the scenes are nauseating. And they're just in there talking to each other, and it's just like shaky.
I couldn't imagine that on your huge screen, too.
Dude, it was terrible. Yeah, it was bad. Like, imagine watching somebody film at a concert going, woo, woo, with their fucking smartphone, like being bounced around and shit. It was terrible. So, the characters and the acting aren't that bad, but their character development is really lacking. It's just, hey, these people are doing this, we don't know why. They never even put it over that they are filming a documentary. I just assumed that. They didn't really state that.
Right.
They're just filming everything, so I think they were making some kind of movie, I suppose, but... First haunted house they go to seems okay, but the bearded douche of the bunch pisses all the scare actors off by climbing on the roof with a megaphone and proclaiming that he is the Halloween god.
Yep. Douchebag.
Yeah. He's kind of like Alan from The Hangover. He's like that, but without any sort of humor.
Right.
just with the Asperger's
Right.
humor.
Right.
No cat sweater either, so it's like not as entertaining. So eventually the group finds a haunted house. About halfway through, it's actually kind of good. You know, the haunted house seems pretty good. I don't know. I guess these people made a documentary as well.
Okay.
And used some of that footage to make a feature with it. So I don't know if these are real haunted houses at some points.
I think they felt like they were real haunted houses.
Yeah, some of them.
And I know, like, especially in the Midwest, there's like a whole belt of haunted houses.
Yeah, and that's what they're traveling around, checking out. And so the documentary.
That's the documentary I want to see.
I might actually watch the documentary, even though I did not care for the movie. So the set is very well done in some of these haunted houses. The scare actors are creepy, but it's all the slow guy walking towards the camera creepy. It's the same thing, or it's jump scare.
Over and
it's
over
one
again.
or the other. It's the classic stand there, slowly turn the head.
Make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's repetitive. It's really repetitive. But we do get some zombie strippers with the masks and a bunch of titties at one point. That's probably the best part of the movie, I would say.
Yeah.
We're getting all crazy. And then they end up pissing off a lot of these scare actors. And while they're on the search for the most disturbing haunt, the haunt finds them.
That's right.
So for some reason, these douches in the RV making this documentary, people who just work at haunted houses, they don't take kindly to those. They don't take kindly to you running around our parks, making your documentary.
With your camera, Queefer.
We're going to put masks on your windshield wipers and give you a pumpkin and say, carve it. Carve the pumpkin.
Carve the pumpkin, Queefer.
It's pretty bad. The premise of it, I don't understand what the motivation is for these people to be after them so badly. He said he's a Halloween god, he's filming stuff, they say don't film, but it's not like they ran over their dog or fucking went up and kicked their kid in the face.
Right.
There's no inciting
Fuck
incident.
their daughter and bailed something.
Yeah, there's no inciting incident for these people to hate them so much that they want to kill them. So that's where it lost me. If it was, I thought the premise was going to be they find a haunted house that's too real for them.
Yeah.
Like one haunted house where they actually kill people and stuff like that. That would have been better than what we
That
got.
would have been a way better movie.
This is a little too far-fetched, like I said. It had potential, though. If it was not found footage and they actually made a movie out of it, it might have actually been good.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, I guess that's what 31's going to be.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. So, looking forward to 31, but yeah. Serious lacks of actual violence.
Yeah.
There's not really any actual violence besides maybe towards the end. There's a tiny bit. but
Boogie, 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 we're
It's
scary.
like more like when there's actual violence happening, the camera's off or down and you can't see anything
Shaking
happening.
around too fucking much.
That's fucking ridiculous. So it's had potential, like I said, but it never made me care. IMDb gives this one 5.1 out of 10, which I feel is quite generous.
That's pretty generous.
I would have maybe given it... maybe I would have concurred or given it a 4 or 5. But the found footage thing, we always take a point off for found footage.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with 3.5.
Okay. Out of 10 zombie stripper titties.
Zombie stripper titties.
Okay.
3.5 out of 10 zombie stripper titties.
And that's like the
when you got-
individual titties. It's not the pair of tits.
No, it's the individual titties. So
Yeah.
let's say we got 2 nice, big, juicy ones.
Yeah.
And then we got one girl. Have you ever run into those girls that are lopsided to where you got like a D cup and an A cup?
I saw this video on eFucked once where there was a girl like that, and they're like, "What's up with your tits?" And she's like, "Oh, I broke my growth plate when I was a kid." She like didn't get the hormones to her titties, so she was seriously like, it's like her
Deformed.
boobs were winking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Shawn Michaels' eyes, but boobs. So I'm gonna give it.
Never gonna look at Shawn Michaels' eyes the same way again.
Big A, little A, bouncing B. System may have got you, but it won't
it's
get
like
me.
a D and an A flat.
It's like a crass song. Big A, little A.
Yes.
All right, what's your bad movie this week?
My bad movie is called Ouija Resurrection, a.k.a. the Ouija Experiment 2, Theater of Death.
Why the fuck would you watch that bullshit?
Because I needed a bad movie.
You were desperate. You're running out of time.
Yeah, seriously.
Even at the doctor and stuff, you're like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Ouija Experiment 2.
And I think I
Two.
I especially hated this movie because I just had fucking heavy steroids injected into my spine, and I was coming off of fucking anesthesia, and I didn't have any painkillers, and I was like, everything sucks, and now I have to watch a bad movie for post-fucking mortem. I'm gonna torture myself with this. Now, this is...
Why is there a 2? That's what I want to know. They're made
Okay, let me go into that for a second. I've seen the original, and I'm not even going to review it because it's an indie found footage movie about a Ouija board. And that's like making fun of the handicapped kid in school. It's not fair. So, Ouija Experiment, the original one, is a point. It's a 0. Fuck that movie.
Just, you know what else is a 0? The big budget one.
Yeah.
You ever see that big budget one that came out? It's terrible.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
We fucking subject. Why are we doing this, people?
Yes. So this movie is directed by a guy named Israel Luna, just to get this fuckface's name out there. And here's the interesting thing about it, and the thing that made me raise an eyebrow and say, okay, this might be a little bit creative. The movie plays like the original Ouija Experiment was just a movie. So the original cast gets back together for a showing of the film at a small-town Texas theater and to host a Ouija weekend, spelled Ouija-Ouikend, where they set up this theater.
What the fuck?
Yeah, supposedly haunted, like a haunted house. And they let people go through the haunted house after they see the movie, and the cast is involved. And then 3 people win a contest to spend the night in the haunted theater. So that was interesting, but then things go wrong when the Ouija board is used to open a gateway to real ghosts and blah, 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 blah. Wreaking havoc, ghosts, rawr. There are good things about it. One good thing is that it wasn't found footage. The original movie was, the second movie was not.
Okay.
So right there, I was like, whew.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had a 0 that wasn't found footage before. That's an amazing feat. Usually we'll give a point if it's not found footage.
Yeah. So, and it had an interesting premise with the first movie being fake and the second one being real, which was a good way to bring back the whole cast because this movie is obviously made by a group of friends. And if you want to bring back the whole original cast, you got to do some way of doing it.
That is a creative way to do it, yeah.
Yeah, so points for that.
Breaking the fourth wall a little bit.
Yeah.
Very meta.
Yeah, recycle your actors.
Yeah.
But the bad things about it, every goddamn thing else. Bad writing, bad acting. It tried to be funny, but with a huge emphasis on tried, as in tried too hard. All of the comedy was forced and poorly timed. All of the jokes fell flat, and they were more aggravating than entertaining. Like, everything was just like, This is the funny scene. This is the funny scene. When's the laugh? Well, that's where it's supposed to be funny, but it's not.
Yeah.
So, no comic timing, no concept of any of it. The writing was super inconsistent. For example, they set up and made a big point at the beginning of the movie that the cast of the original movies were outsiders in the town where the story takes place. Yet one of them inexplicably has an apartment in town. Like,
what?
Yeah, they're outsiders, but she's going back to her apartment, which is in town. Also, for some reason, the monster has full reign of the theater to kill with impunity for the first 3/4 of the movie. Then suddenly, for no reason at all, it's chained up in the basement and can only go as far as its chain lets it go. Until it's no longer convenient for it to be chained up anymore. Like,
with no explanation?
No
Someone's
explanation at
not
all.
capturing it and chaining it and in command of it or anything?
Yeah, it's just there. It's just in the basement, chained up, and it can only reach you if you're 6 feet away from it.
I don't want to cut off your review or anything, but I don't think that we should be talking about this movie.
Oh, it gets worse. The monster costume looked like it was purchased at Party City, ultimately making this horrible cannibal demon creature more look like a fat goth chick in a laughable Halloween costume. And they must have known that the monster was lame because they didn't even bother to name it. In the credits, she was literally credited as Ghost/Monster.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are my personal gripes about it. A lot of movies use the early 2000s, or since the early 2000s, use the shitty, incorrect, like, quote-unquote ghost hunting tropes. And even though I know better, I usually suspend my disbelief and forgive most of them because they're generally used to push forward the story. I've been interested in paranormal investigation since I was 15. I've been doing this shit for 20 years. Like, I know what's real and what isn't, and I know the bullshit. And most movies are bullshit.
Well, we need to go on some post-mortem ghost hunting trips.
I've got the gear.
Let's go. We're there, bro.
Usually, if the paranormal investigation tropes are used incorrectly, it's still to push the story forward. Like, they do EVPs all fucked up and wrong, but they still, like, it's like, oh, we found a clue. In this scene, there's a bunch of paranormal investigation shit that's just there to be wrong, and then they don't do anything with it. It's like they never even did it. They don't go back and investigate it. It doesn't reveal anything about the plot. Like, if you're gonna, like, say, ooh, electronic voice phenomenon, blah, 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 then, like, have it mean something. Have it be there. Play it back and have the ghost saying, get out, at least, you know?
I'm
something.
still stuck on the fact that you say you have the equipment. So now what we need, it's better than fucking Ghost Hunters on the Sci-Fi Channel. What we need to do, okay, if you have a lot of money and you're interested in this,
we're going to make ghost porn called Ghost Humpers. We find ghosts and we fuck them.
That's better than what I was going to say. I was going to say that we just do Ghost Hunters, post-mortem Ghost Hunters with Dom, JD, and Doug Jones.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
They can afford Doug Jones.
Yeah.
We'll come for free just because we want an autograph.
Right. Yeah. Because we want to hang out with the dudes.
The dudes. But fucking a ghost, that sounds pretty cool
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's good. Also, for fuck's sake, it's not pronounced Ouija. It's Ouija. The name is a combination of the words oui and ja from French and German for yes. Contrary to popular belief, Ouija does not mean witch in any language. So if the redneck sheriff wants to call it a Ouija board, that's fine. But the people who are supposed to know what they're talking about, like the guy who supposedly knows about ghosts, should at least pronounce the fucking thing right. You know, I don't expect the general public to know that. But
I didn't even know that.
I expect that if you're going to have a movie that has a paranormal expert in it, they're going to pronounce it correctly.
I didn't even know that Samhain, like the band, until I heard some interview with Danzig. He's like, it's Samhain.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
This is America,
I've
Danzig.
been saying Samhain for years, Danzig. You ought to correct me.
So let me answer now the question that you asked a few minutes ago. Why can't anyone make a good horror movie about a Ouija board? I'll tell you why. Because the concept is fucking stupid. If man was meant to communicate with the spirit world, it was not through a piece of cardboard and plastic manufactured by Parker Brothers.
This is a challenge. Let's make a good movie about a Ouija board.
I have an idea already.
All right.
Now, if you may as well try and make like Monopoly or Chutes and Ladders into a fucking horror movie, because like Ouija boards don't summon ghosts any more than fucking Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering does. And if you want to tell me that you have a scary story in your life about when you had a Ouija board and it did something, I'm going to stop you right there because you're full of fucking bullshit. I've been hearing Ouija board stories for 20 years and they've all been a load of fucking bullshit. If you want to make a scary movie about a game, make fucking Operation into a movie, because that game is scary. Where you gotta like have the little tweezers and not touch the sides and bzz, bzz.
Pie face is scary.
Yeah. Or that
At any moment, whipped cream might hit you.
It's
terrifying.
Yeah, but not a Ouija
I'm
board.
lactose intolerant. What am I gonna do?
I would play a Ouija board with the head of the Church of Satan on the side of a Nazi concentration camp at the stroke of midnight and go home and sleep easy.
In a former Indian graveyard.
That's how not scared of Ouija boards I am. Yeah, pissing in a former Indian graveyard, which I would never do, by the way. But you know, if it came right down to it, that's just how not scary they are.
Yeah.
So as far as this movie goes, inconsistent writing, shitty acting, lazy filmmaking, pop ghost hunter nonsense, bad costuming. This movie is the equivalent of a dude in a tap-out shirt taking his yoga pants and Uggs-wearing girlfriend to Applebee's and expecting a blowjob in the parking lot. Basic as fuck. Fuck this fucking movie. I'm giving it a 1 out of 10 only because it was not found footage.
Wow.
Yeah, 1 out of 10 zombie clown titties.
You do realize we're about 20 minutes in and we've talked nothing but Ouija board.
Yeah.
All right, so now we got the good movie. My good movie, I heard nothing about. I knew nothing about. Just popped up, relatively new. Not streaming now on Netflix, but it is on Amazon Video. Not Prime, but you can rent it.
Right.
So it's 2015, directed by Viet Nguyen, which I believe is Vietnamese, right?
Yeah.
Starring Chris Din, which I believe is also a Vietnamese guy,
Okay.
and Katie Savoy, which is a white girl.
Okay.
It's almost like these guys, I don't know if they're related or some cousins or something like that, or just they're part of this community, but they worked on this together, you know? The director and the star, and the star helped in the writing as well. So
Okay.
I don't know why I watched this after reading the synopsis. Last week, my bad movie was called Intruders. Mm-hmm. The synopsis is the exact same fucking thing as my bad movie of last week, and I don't know why I did it. I think only because it was promoted as a horror comedy, and Intruders was completely serious but complete bullshit. Right? So, thieves break into a house but end up trapped by a deranged killer. But it's a horror comedy.
Okay.
Opens up with a woman and her daughter trapped in a room. The mom tries to convince the daughter everything is okay. They're just playing a game, and the daughter says, I know it's not a game, and I know it's not okay. And 30 seconds later, the mom is stabbed and dead. The acting in that initial part and the gore are so terrible that I was like, not again. I've been on a string of bad movies.
Okay.
I've been bad movie city. It's been
Population
Population JD. It's been so fucking hard for me to find a good movie because I've seen almost every horror movie of the last fucking whatever years, you know? 31 years old. I'm a 31-year-old man. Been at this a long time. So,
grizzled old vet.
I'm a grizzled vet of the horror genre. So, after that, smash cuts to a man and a woman talking in a van. They're all dressed up like they're like house painters or something like that. These are the main characters. It's a guy and his girlfriend. Vietnamese guy, white girl. So, they agree that the next robbery will be their last. They'll quit and they'll find a normal life. They'll run away and they'll find a normal life, you know? Sounds kind of lame, right?
Right.
They break into a house, but the wife comes home with a guy that she's cheating on. So, like, they break into this house, someone opens the door, they're all scared, they go hide in the closet. Then, the husband comes home with a gun to catch his wife with this guy. And they're just in the closet watching this, all shit goes down, you know? Husband finds them, wife says, so the husband, they're in the closet, and the husband comes in, and the guy that she's fucking runs in the closet, and he's in there with the robbers. And he doesn't know they're there. There's like a shirt like hanging on the hanger between them. Okay. But then he sees them, and like they see each other, and they kind of make noise. So the husband finds them in there. And
you're fucking all three of these people.
and the wife's like, they're robbers. Shoot them. They say, we're not robbers, we're swingers. and then the guy fucking her. So the husband, she's like, no, they're not. Blah blah blah. They're like, we're not fucking her. This guy is, and they throw him out of the closet. And he's like in his underwear. And it's the dialogue in this movie is good. That's what makes it funny.
Right.
It's got this snappy little dialogue that it's pretty sweet. So then they say, no, wait. He's all mad. He's going to kill that guy. He's going to kill him. He's like, wait. We aren't swingers. We are robbers. She was right. We were in your house to rob you. We swear we're not fucking her. Blah, blah, blah. So they run away because the guy's after the guy at the time. So they run out the door, and he kills the wife, and he kills the guy, and he kills himself. And they get away. And they have this odd little sense of humor. The banter between the girlfriend and the boyfriend is pretty sweet. So I went into it after the first scene, expecting a shit show, but I was pleasantly surprised. It's super low budget. The effects aren't great, but I enjoyed the banner.
Okay.
Acting is okay. The writing is good.
Okay.
The writing's really good. As far as the dialogue, not so much the plot. It's a standard plot you've heard before, you know. In addition to the director, the main male lead, Ollie, co-wrote it, and there's some quirkiness.
Okay.
Robbery team who robs the killer's house. So when they get to the killer's house, consists of a boyfriend and girlfriend, her idiot brother who is convinced he's the leader and wants to be referred to as the leader. So he's like, I'm the leader of this heist. He's like, this isn't a heist. We're breaking into a house. He's a total fucking douchebag.
Okay.
And then his gangster Vietnamese friend, who is coming with him too, who is only stealing to buy his girlfriend breast implants because she's mad that he volunteered to be sent to Mars. You know how that thing is in the news? They want people to go to Mars.
Yeah.
He wants to do that, and he doesn't understand why she's mad that he wants to go to Mars. So he wants to buy her boobs, and she doesn't even want boobs, and he hasn't told her anything about this. But that's his whole thing.
That's awesome. Is this is an English language movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's American. It's called Crush the Skull. I don't
Okay.
even think I've said that yet. It's called Crush the Skull.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned that to me last night, but I'd never heard of it. I didn't look it up or anything. So.
The girlfriend laughs when she's scared, which
Okay.
is kind of a punchline. Like every time the things are getting real intense, she'll start giggling. Like when they're just about to die and everything. It's pretty funny.
Nice.
So things escalate. You know, they realize that the killer, as they're robbing this house, they realize all the windows can't be broken. They're like bulletproof glass, and they'd gotten in through a skylight that was open and fell down. And they can't get back up to it. They're trying to stack up like totem poles and shit, like stupid shit like that. You know. Finally, the killer comes back, and he's like a country bumpkin kind of guy. I don't want to give away a lot of plot because it just came out. It's pretty funny. It's worth a watch.
Cool.
So,
it's on Amazon streaming.
Yeah, and I have it, so you can watch it if you want. We can have a little viewing party, but I recommend it. It's not the best movie ever, but I like movies that have a sense of humor and a creativity, and this has both of that. So it's low budget as fuck. It's not a high budget movie. There are twists in the movie that are completely predictable to where my 11-year-old son was like, I bet this is going to happen, and then it did. When it's supposed to be like this twist, you know,
Right.
so that kind of stuff happens. So it's not flawless. It has its flaws, but it's a lot better than both of our bad movies this week.
Right.
So for that reason, I'm gonna go ahead and give it 6.3 which is not the greatest.
Yeah.
It's passable. It's not a fail.
It's like 2 full pairs and a nipple.
Yeah, 6.3 zombie stripper titties.
Okay.
So,
Zombie clown stripper titties.
zombie clown stripper titties, yeah.
Awesome.
Which are basically in that fucking houses October built. They're basically just strippers that are naked with Halloween masks that you could buy at like party stations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was nothing impressive about it except the fact that they were naked.
Yeah.
Yep. So, my movie I watched, again expecting it to be a bad movie, but not as bad as the Ouija experiment. So, I was gonna like push the Ouija experiment to the back burner and be like, I'm gonna review this movie if it sucks instead. And it turned out to be pretty good. It's a 2013 horror comedy, though I'm going to call it more of a comedy horror because there's more emphasis on the comedy.
That's what
than
mine
horror.
was, yeah. That was called, that last one, I think I only said it once, it was Crush the Skull.
Yeah.
So, for the listener.
This one's directed by a guy named Mike Mendez, and it's called Big Ass Spider! In all caps with an exclamation point.
You watched that? I saw that on Netflix, and that was Ouija experiment bad. I didn't want to click it.
It was good.
It was good?
It was good.
Really?
Yeah. So, the plot is that a giant alien mutant spider escapes from a military lab and rampages through Los Angeles. When a military strike fails to neutralize it, it's up to a lone soldier, an exterminator, and a hospital security guard to get the job done before the city is destroyed. It's a really good horror comedy. It plays more for laughs than scares, like I said. Every single character in it is likable. It has great dialogue, and it keeps a really simple story interesting and entertaining with the dialogue and the banter. The 2 main characters, who are the exterminator and the Mexican security guard from the hospital, have a really, really good buddy dynamic that brings all of their scenes to life. And the female lead, she got shoehorned into the typical romantic interest, but she wasn't, like, constantly a helpless, useless damsel in distress. Most of the cast were no-name TV actors, with the exception of Ray Wise, who was the military major. And there were short...
The great Ray Wise.
Yeah, the great Ray Wise.
Digging Up the Marrow was one of my good movies.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He stole that movie, yeah.
Yeah, from Twin Peaks.
Yep.
And he was more subdued in this because he was just the military leader. He wasn't big on laughs.
Yeah.
But he played the straight man well. And there were also short cameos by Lynn Shay and Lloyd Kaufman.
Okay.
Lynn Shay from...
Let me some Uncle Lloydie.
Yeah, Uncle Lloyd, and Lynn Shay, who was the psychic in Sinister.
Okay.
Also, the sister...
Old lady?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Sister of Robert Shay, who produced all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Oh, really? I didn't know. Yeah, I actually like her as a actress. Can't really get so much behind the Insidious movies.
Yeah, but she's always
the first one's better, the second one's terrible. Yeah. I'm sure they're going to make 7 of them. Yeah. So.
In this movie, she plays an old lady who has a mouse in her backyard. And the exterminator has to come and get the mouse, and she's fucking hilarious. She's like hitting on him, and like when he shows up, she's like riding him like a monkey because she's so scared of the mouse. It's pretty good. And then there's also a lot of really good side characters when they go into the news report. Like they're interviewing these gangsters who saw the big spider, and they're like, "Y'all gotta hide your wives. Y'all gotta hide your children. There's a spider on the loose." And like that there's a rapist on the loose video that is on YouTube. Like there are a lot of good references to things like that. Alex the Exterminator was the kind of comedy horror hero that is in the spirit of Ash. He was hapless and easily distracted, but he was always trying to wheel
flawed
and deal.
Hero. Yeah, tragic flawed hero.
Yeah, but in the end, he was competent enough to get the job done, and he legitimately wanted to do right. Jose, the Mexican security guard, he was the sidekick character, but he was also really the fucking soul of this movie. He helped develop the main character and had a lot to do with the comic timing, and he had some of the best lines in the movie. At one point, he's like, "I'm gonna help you like Robin helps a Batman." And while his character superficially bordered on a stereotype, he wasn't one-dimensional, and he was ultimately the smartest, most competent character in the movie. So, most of the effects in this movie are CG, but they're on par with Starship Troopers in terms of giant bugs.
Starship Troopers was awesome at the time.
Oh, yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, this was made 2013 as opposed to 2006, but still, like...
Starship Troopers is like 1996, dude.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. Yeah.
That's 20 years.
Yeah.
You can't get away with the same stuff, you know?
But the thing is, like, in this case, the CG looks fine given the tone of the rest of the movie because they don't try to play any of it realistic. It's all cartoonish, and so it doesn't really take you out of it, and it almost adds to the joke of the movie. But one thing that I'll give props to the CG animators for is attention to detail. Like, every time the spider walked somewhere, it would leave divots in the ground, as opposed to just coasting over the ground like most shitty CG animals do.
Yeah.
And they would leave the divots there from shot to shot. So, they gave a shit. And that really can go a long way in making shitty CG seem at least a little bit better.
You know what the best spider movie is to me? It's just called Spiders. Do you ever see that? Spiders?
It's on Netflix. They recommended that one to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's the same one because I'm sure there's multiple. But
I love Arachnophobia. I think that's a great movie.
Yeah. Spiders is a really comical horror movie.
Nice.
With like RPGs, with people shooting rocket launchers hanging out of helicopters and shit. Like ridiculous stuff like that.
Yeah. They've got some of that in this movie too, yeah. The movie had actually some funny commentary about people prioritizing social media and getting it on video for their own safety. They're all like, you know, I have to get this on film or no one will believe me. Gack. You know, I have a feeling that if that happened in real life, you know, like, that's what would happen. So many people would be trying to get it on Facebook that they would just die. There's a definite inspiration from trauma movies as well as James Gunn and Edgar Wright movies. It's like a parody of those bad sci-fi movies, but with slightly better special effects. And it came in at 80 minutes, so they didn't really waste any time. It was just like jokes and spiders and death. And that's all it needed to be.
Yeah.
My one complaint about this movie is that they went for a PG-13 rating. So there was some gore, including a pretty rad face-melting scene, but most of it was like the aftermath. You know, they dropped the mangled corpses, or like, you know, someone would get impaled, but you'd never see them get ripped in half. Some well-timed physical splatter comedy would have been the icing on the cake for this. There were plenty of opportunities for it to happen, and they just didn't go for it. It was good without splatter, but I think if it had some, it would have been on par with Slither or Deathgasm.
Really?
Yeah. That was the one.
That's a strong sentiment.
Yeah.
On par with Deathgasm. There's not much out there.
Yeah. If it had the splatter, it would have been. Because it didn't, it's a step back.
I'm going to watch it then, and I will report back to you, good sir. Because Deathgasm was a 10 out of 10 for me.
So it has a strong script propelled by competent actors, and what it lacks in gore and carnage, it more than makes up for with comedy and good characters. The director knows how to tell a good story without wasting any time. The special effects crew had good attention to detail. And this director shows a lot of promise as a filmmaker, and I'm interested to see what he does with his next movie, which is called Don't Kill It, and that's a movie about Dolph Lundgren hunting demons.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
That was one of your news, right?
Yeah. So this guy, Mike Mendez, clearly has an eye for action and a love for the horror genre, and that's something I respect. And I'm going to give this one 8 out of 10 zombie stripper clown titties.
All right, 8 out of 10 zombie stripper clown titties. So you had the bad
Four
movie?
full pairs.
Yeah. Big ones, little ones, a variety.
Yeah, a variety. You know, there's like an A cup, a B cup, a C cup, and a D cup.
Yeah.
It works.
I was thinking about not just cup size, but variety. You know, the ones that point outwards. You got some of the ones where the nipples are a little too close.
Yeah, they slope up.
They're pointing down.
Yeah. 2 different directions.
Yeah. And the Shawn Michaels eyes. So we'll be back after a quick word from our sponsors with David Agernoff.
That's right. We're going to be talking about some boot boys of the Wolf Reich.
Yeah. We'll be back.
Hi, thanks for listening to the Postmortem Podcast. If you want to support us, go to our website at www.postmortemshow.com and click the Amazon link.
By clicking on the Amazon banner, Amazon will give a small percentage of the purchase price of your item back to the Postmortem Podcast at no additional cost to you. That's right. It doesn't cost you any money, we get money. You want us to keep doing this? You want more Doug Jones talk? You want more dick and fart talk? I don't care. We're going to do it.
Fund our filthy, filthy habits.
Yes, and they are many and they are fast.
And most of them aren't legal.
Yes. Click the banner. Just do it.
Come on, don't be a dick. Give us money.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Postmortem author David Agernoff, writer of Amazing Punk Stories, Screams from a Dying World, Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich, and the upcoming punk rock ghost story.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on. I was glad that you were interested in joining us on the show after the first story I had read was Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich, which when I saw those Four Skins lyrics, I was in.
Well, yeah, there's definitely, not only is there a connection to real life Oi, but one thing that's cool, and I'm not sure if you've heard it, but we actually recorded 2 Oi soundtrack originals Oi songs for Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich that are on YouTube.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, there's a song called Howling in the Streets, and it's very Blitz influenced, the band Blitz.
Yeah.
And then there is a song that's a little bit more Foreskins influence called "Small Town Skin" that's also on YouTube. And my handle on YouTube is Vegan Rev with Zombies, and if you follow that, I actually put up a makeshift soundtrack for like a playlist soundtrack for Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich, and with a lot of the songs that are referenced in the book and quoted. So it's kind of a fun thing that is up online to promote the book. But yeah.
That's awesome. We will actually be sharing a link to that after this episode premieres. We will share a link to your YouTube where people can check that out. And yeah, I was really into it because we have a lot in common actually. I'm a vegetarian for 13 years now, and also singing in punk bands and into the horror scene and trying to write a little bit. Not as good as you, but hopefully I'll get there some day. So really happy that you could join the show. And Boot Boys was kind of one of the only other books to me that kind of captured what you captured in that book was Skins by Wrath James White. Have you read that one?
No, I'm familiar with it because we share a publisher, but no, I haven't read his yet. It is on my list. But one thing that I think differentiates Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich from pretty much any fiction about skinheads is that it's, and not to really, sell anybody else short, but I really went for authentic, to try and make it authentic. I actually grew up in the skinhead scene in the late 80s in the Midwest. And so the book takes place in the skinhead scene of Chicago in the summer of 1989. And that's a scene I'm very familiar with because I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana, which is about 5 hours south of Chicago, but I had a bunch of friends, and I used to go up to shows in Chicago. And so I knew a lot of the skinheads in Chicago. And so, and some people have correctly pointed out that there are actually autobiographical moments in Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich.
That's awesome.
And obviously the Nazi werewolves is not the autobiographical parts, but
that you can admit to.
Yeah, that I can. Yeah.
So for our listeners that don't know the difference, if you're not into punk rock and you misinterpret the word skinhead, this book is actually about skinheads against Nazis. There's something called SHARP, Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice, which is a punk rock movement. So it has nothing to do with racism. It's actually very anti-racist. I just kind of want to put that statement out there for someone who's listening that's not familiar with the scene, doesn't know anything about what true skinheads are all about, or sharps, or punk rock.
Yeah,
or anything.
And I admit I forget to do that from time to time, is to remind people that the history, and actually the original skinheads were black.
Yeah. And as is the lead character of the story, or half.
Yeah. And, one of the things about the original skinheads was the foundation of the skinhead movement was Jamaican immigrants to London who worked in the factories and didn't have the money to buy, fancy clothes to go out dancing. So they wore their work boots out and to go dancing, and they listened to reggae, and which became ska. And so the original skinheads were definitely people of color, and just like everything else, the white people kind of stole it.
It's what we do.
And and so for me, one of the things that I wanted to do with Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich was, my original motivation when I first kind of started thinking of the story was I wanted to do a coming-of-age horror novel because I came of age, I was 16 years old when I got involved in the skinhead movement, and I had to kind of grow up as a part of that. And one of the things that is really autobiographical is, and I mentioned that I came from a small college town, and so when I started hanging out with the big city skins, these were some serious skinheads, and we had a small crew of skinheads in my hometown, but anti-racist skinheads. I mean, obviously with the name Agronoff, I'm Jewish, my family's Jewish, and I had a small group of skinheads in my hometown that I hung out with, but when I went to the big city, it was like a whole nother thing. And so, part of the premise of Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich is Paul, the main character, is a small town skinhead whose family moves to Chicago, and now he has to play with the big boys. And part of that is, and one of the things you have to realize when you put yourself back in the headspace of anti-racist skinheads of the late '80s, is that everyone thought that we were Nazis, and so for that reason, it was almost like a natural gang war between the Nazi skinheads and the anti-racist skinheads.
Yeah, because you want to get rid of them because they're given a bad name. My bass player, actually, in Grave Command, he's a total skinhead, and he's very active in the scene, and he has ran into that from time to time. I'm a punk rocker myself. I love oi music and everything, but he tells me a lot of stories about dealing with dealing with those kind of people that want to just you look a certain way, so they're going to assume something when it's not true. So.
Right, and so really, I think Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich, when you look at the cover, it kind of has like this like SS of the, she-wolf of the SS kind of like exploitation look to it. Yeah, it's an Ilsa
poster, basically.
Right, but the reality is the novel has much more in common with, coming of age horror like Boy's Life by Robert McCammon, or Ghoul by Brian Keene, Stand By Me by Stephen King.
That's the first that I had.
Right, and they were writing coming of age, not Keene, but McCammon and King were writing coming of age novels that were really set in the 50s. And so for me, writing a coming of age novel, it's the 80s, it's punk rock, it's skinheads, and because that was the environment where I had to grow up, and I didn't have to grow up, but that's where I did grow up. And so some of the scenes, like there's a part of Boot Boys and the Wolf Reich where they're back in a drinking alley, like a little alley where you used to drink, right? And that was a real place in Chicago. The Dunkin' Donuts parking lot was where the skinheads and the punks really hung out in Chicago. And so some of the fights and things that happened in Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich were real life things that happened. And another level of Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich, and one of the reasons why I think people will really enjoy it, is that it also talks about the reasons why these hate groups become so attractive to young disenfranchised youth.
Yeah, that's what I really loved about it, is that it makes some of the worst characters relatable, like the guy in the jail. That kid in the jail with his dad that's a farmer. And, that kid is relatable, too, because, you see what he goes through.
It was really important to me in the writing of Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich that the Nazi skinhead characters were not cartoons. That they were not... the bad guys, faceless bad guys, Right, that we could actually understand... We don't agree with what they're doing, but we could actually understand where they're coming from, or that they're human beings, that their motivations, are from the outside make sense, because I think that's the job of a writer, is to make fully realized characters.
Right. Yeah. And one thing about your writing is that the internal thought process of people, it's spot on. Like as far as that, and I've read Amazing Punk Stories now, and the characters' inner monologues, it's like a thought process of a real person. It's not. It doesn't have that cartoonish vibe.
It's cool that you can get into their headspace like that. I call it the American History X effect, where you know that they're wrong, but it still makes them compelling. And right. I think what makes a good bad guy, and I don't know if you're a wrestling fan or not, but Mick Foley said this best: a good bad guy always has to think that he's right, and has to be doing what he's doing for what he thinks are the right reasons, or else he's just a melodrama villain.
Well, and that's just right. And Clive Barker used to always say that the villain thinks they're the hero. Yeah. You read, especially like my first short story collection, Screams from a Dying World, has a story called the Network, and the Network is a story about an anti-logging group, and I'm a very strong environmentalist, but the Network was a big change in my writing. It was a big evolutionary shift, because I wrote half the story from the point of view of the logger, and as being a militant environmentalist as I was, that was really hard for me to do.
It's hard to put yourself in the headspace of someone that you disagree with.
You got to write them as shitty human beings, but they still have to be human beings.
Well, and that was the thing, is that I didn't write him as a shitty human being. I wrote him as somebody who was, just trying to feed his family and whatever. But the reality is that from that point on, after writing The Network, I've never had trouble doing that ever since. Is getting to the head of the other characters, and part of it is that Clive Barker advises that the villain is the hero of their story, and certainly that's the way I've always viewed it. But I'm very proud of Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich. I think it is a coming of age horror novel that I envisioned, from the beginning. And what's really funny about how that book kind of was given birth, when I joined Eraserhead Press, my publisher, and originally they had brought me on to write The Vegan Revolution with Zombies, which was my first book for them. And
I haven't read that one yet. Is that available on Amazon?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon.
And also, if you guys want to, Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich is also on Amazon. That's where I got it from.
Yeah, all my books are available on Amazon. And so, but they had brought me on to write The Vegan Revolution with Zombies, and I was supposed to pitch 10 other projects. And one of my editors is Carlton Mellick, who is the author of Baby Jesus Butt Plug and Satan Burger. And Carlton, like a lot of his philosophy and stuff in books, is that when you're selling books on Amazon, your title has to jump out at people. And it was funny because before I even got a chance to pitch Boot Boys, he saw the title on the list, and he pointed at the title and said, "That one." Before I even talked about the story. And so I hadn't written it at that point, but I already had the whole thing envisioned, and it was really exciting to make that one come to life, because it says so much about my childhood, and it's or my young adult years, and I'm really proud of Boot Boys, so I hope people check it out.
It's great to see a coming-of-age story come out that's in a more contemporary time. Like you'd mentioned, most of the famous ones take place in the 50s and 60s, and now we've got a whole new crop of writers that are writing for things that we can identify with, being children of the 80s and 90s.
Right. Like you were saying about where you came from and incorporating, good writers incorporate their real life into certain situations, or someone they met on a bus or in a store that becomes a character. And I see a lot of that in your books, and in Amazing Punk Stories, there's a lot of your area in these stories. Book Your Own Fucking Life.
There's a lot of it. Yeah, Book Your Own Fucking Life takes place in Indiana and in the Midwest. And I'm really proud of that. It's a novella that's in Amazing Punk Stories. And actually, John Shirley, who's my favorite writer in the world, he wrote the screenplay of The Crow, is what he's most famous for. But he's a splatter punk, or cyberpunk legend. He's been writing stuff just forever. He's great. But he said in the introduction to the book, he wrote the introduction for Amazing Punk Stories.
Yeah, he did.
And he said that. Yeah, and he said that Book Your Own Fucking Life freaked him out. I was really proud of that.
Yeah, it will freak out any aspiring, indie or punk musician that's trying to travel, and it's the same too. We are heavily involved in the wrestling scene. I'm an indie professional wrestler, and Dom is a manager in indie wrestling. And we do this. It's the same thing as booking a band. When we book these little mini tours and go to different places.
Having worked in music and wrestling.
Right.
And I've booked little mini tours too for some of my former bands and shows. And that story is so relatable. It's one of my favorites of the whole collection.
One thing too about Book Your Own Fucking Life, and the history behind that title is that, and young people might not know this, but Maximum Rock and Roll used to put out a guide for bands and venues called Book Your Own Fucking Life, and it was basically before the internet, that's how you found out, if you were booking a tour, that's how you found out about shows in other cities or promoters, and that's how you connected. And so the story is about a group of rednecks who advertise and Book Your Own Fucking Life that they put on shows in their barn, and it's basically a way to lure young unknown bands to their property so they can eat them.
It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre if it was infused with punk rock.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. and that's really and the concept behind Amazing Punk Stories in general was that I wanted to do every style of pulp fiction, whether it's horror, science fiction, western, spy thriller, with a punk setting, punk characters, or whatever. But at the same time, I wanted to do every style of horror as well. So you have there's a haunted house story, and then there's the Cannibal in the Woods story, which is Book Your Own Fucking Life. And then there's some more like Twilight Zone-y type ones, but every kind of subgenre of horror I really tried to represent there.
That's great.
But with the reunion show, and I am very proud of that story, which I consider to be a science fiction story in the collection.
Yeah, and the collection is very diverse. It's not all horror or science fiction or anything. It's like the show Amazing Stories when it was different stuff, or like Tales from the Crypt, infused with all those different things, but with the punk rock element, like you were saying. It's a multi-genre short story collection. I really enjoyed it all.
Right. Well, and Reunion Show is such a crazy cross of things that I'm into, because the story is very influenced by Philip K. Dick and that kind of what is reality thing that Philip K. Dick did, but it's also a tribute to Ian MacKaye and Minor Threat. And so when I originally sold this short story to Dark Discoveries magazine, and when I pitched the idea to James Beach, the editor over Dark Discoveries, I told him I had done a tribute to Minor Threat a la Philip K. Dick. He was like, I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah.
But I think the story really works, and it's actually one of the short stories of my entire career that I'm most proud of, because I think it is a very weird story, but I think it works. But here's the other thing about Reunion Show is, just in a nuts and bolts thing, is I'm a big outliner, and I outline all my novels, really intensely. But short stories are usually the only thing that I just kind of write by the seat of my pants. And Reunion Show is one of the few stories that I outlined ahead of time, because the story is kind of structured like an 8. Like the narrative structure doesn't go in a straight line, and
no, it doesn't.
So, so I actually that's one of the few times where like I sat down and outlined a short story before I wrote it. So, but I'm really proud of that one. There's also a fantasy story in Amazing Punk Stories called Punky-Pine Moshers of the Apocalypse, and that story was actually was collected in the Best Bizarro Fiction of the Decade.
That's cool.
Collection edited by Cameron Pierce, and so I'm pretty proud of that one too. And that the cover art from Amazing Punk Stories is of the main character of Punky-Pines, and her name is Dress to Kill Maiden. And I actually think she would do really well on your wrestling circuit with you guys.
Yeah, I think she would too.
But,
Can you tell us a little bit about? I know it's not out yet, but can you give us a little? If you want to give us a synopsis or some kind of teaser about the upcoming book, Punk Rock Ghost Story.
Yeah, so Punk Rock Ghost Story is it's probably going to be my last punk horror novel for the near future, but basically kind of completing this trilogy of books that I put out with Deadite. And the thing about Punk Rock Ghost Story, well, let's see, I haven't gotten into the mode of promoting it yet. Punk Rock Ghost Story is about the difference between punk rock in the early 80s and punk rock in the modern age. That's really the theme of it, but seen through the lens of there was this band in Indiana in the early 80s called the Fuckers, and they went on tour, and the singer didn't come back. And when the singer did not return, the band broke up because he was so much a part of what they do. And if And I've got links online to some of their songs. They had songs like, they only had one record before they broke up. So they had songs like Conformity Factory and Carter Sucks, Reagan Swallows, and really kind of early 80s stuff.
Yeah.
But they were kind of like this lost Indiana band. And so there were all these myths and legends about what happened to Frank, the singer. Like, why did he disappear on tour? Is he still alive? Is he somewhere doing a band? Is he, did he die? Some of the members of the band were actually accused of Frank's murder because there was so much violence and things that happened on the tour. And so what I wanted to do was take some of those urban legends from the scene and fictionalize an end to the story. And imagine what possibly could have happened through the lens of a band in 2004 who's completely fictional, called People's Uprising. And People's Uprising buys the Old Fuckers tour van in 2004 and takes it out on another tour. And that's where the novel becomes like a punk rock version of The Shining.
Okay. That's awesome.
And basically, it is what the title suggests, a punk rock ghost story. And so we're working right now on a documentary, and you can, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's on there too. We have a teaser for the documentary about the fuckers, and I'm in it, and a bunch of punk rock legends like John Zepps, who played guitar for Burn It Down and Transgression, and all these. Transgression was a big thrash band from the 80s in Indiana, and Curtis from Tang Records, which is an amazing punk rock, basically museum record store here in San Diego. All talking about this band and how they kind of flash across the sky like a comet, and so it's just really been kind of I really had to sell this book to my editor Jeff Burke because it is weird. It's not like a traditional horror novel because it has elements of true crime in it, and then it also has then it goes crazy. But really, the idea behind Punk Rock Ghost Story, just like where Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich on the surface is skinheads and werewolves, but under the surface it's a study about coming of age and racism and all that. Under the surface, Punk Rock Ghost Story is basically about in the early 80s, if you were a punk rocker, the redneck jocks wanted you dead. They wanted to kill you. Because you were weird and different, and it's a much different world from now when you have punk rock bands with like Green Day who have big hits on MTV, and it's just become more mainstream. And so I really wanted to explore the difference between punk rock then and punk rock now.
So listeners, you guys look out for Punk Rock Ghost Story. If you haven't read them yet, check out Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich and Amazing Punk Stories, all available on Amazon. Go to our website. You can see the Amazon banner. You can click through the Amazon banner, and we'll link to all these different books that he has out now.
Get your shit in.
Yeah. when it comes out, we will link to the Punk Rock Ghost Story. And I believe after the break, you're going to join us for some top 5 douchebags, aren't you?
Yeah, and really quick before that, too, is I do have a zombie satire called The Vegan Revolution with Zombies. And it was Portlandia before Portlandia. It makes fun of hipsters, juggalos, the overhyped zombie craze, all of it. And it's the only full-length comedy that I've ever put out, but that's also a good place to start if you like funny books.
I'm sold.
I will definitely be checking that one out. So we'll be back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Hi.
It's us. We're not a sponsor. We have no sponsor this week, so
We're self-sponsoring.
we're masturbating ourselves all over your ears. We're coming in your ear pussy.
Sponsoring off.
So there's something really important we need to talk about.
And it's puppies.
It's not puppies. Look, we're going to keep this to a minimum.
Okay.
This is a short commercial.
Tangent commercials.
No tangent in the commercial.
Do you know about tangents?
So, we need your help. We need you to rate us, review us, and share this podcast with your friends.
If you listen,
your enemies. Share it with your enemies.
Share it people you hate. Punish them with our voices.
Make them listen to it. Yeah. And also, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Stitcher. Subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube.
Like it on YouTube.
SoundCloud.
Follow us on Twitter. We only have like 3 Twitter followers right now.
Because we don't ever have a tweet. What matters most is getting this out into more ear holes. We need your help for that.
Letting people know about it.
So also, if you're our friend or our follower on the Facebook there, make sure you click the notifications and get first, because we're not going to pay for those ads, so you see everything. You gotta work for it.
Yeah, click share.
We give you this shit for free.
And if you want to hear more about Doug Jones, because really that's what this is all about, click that share.
All right, well, this has went on for way too long, and we appreciate you listening to Postmortem.
And we're back with more Postmortem.
And we're back is the heart and soul of Postmortem.
It is, and we didn't have it for one episode.
Yeah, and the episode completely fell flat.
And today's subject that we're going to bring you is the top 5 douches.
People that you wanted to die.
The people you want to die in the movie. Not the helpless victims, but the people that when they get their comeuppance, it feels good.
Or they don't get their comeuppance.
And if they don't, you're pissed.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Agronoff, as you are the guest, the custom is you get to go first with your number 5.
Tom Cruise's son in War of the Worlds.
What a useless fuck.
Yeah.
The fact that he lived absolutely, totally ruined that movie. And I actually thought that Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise did an amazing job. The first 45 minutes of that movie is unrelenting. I mean, take aside for a second that the plot of War of the Worlds makes no sense. I mean, H.G. Wells came up with it so long ago, you gotta forgive him for that. And they stuck to it. But the first 45 minutes of that movie is completely unrelenting. And the fact that the son is just magically there at the end is just one of the worst endings of all time. And I cannot think of a character who more needed to die in a movie,
sure.
And it just absolutely nuked that movie. And it is, I think, one of Steven Spielberg's worst moments as a director.
There's been many.
In his whole career.
If I may argue, there's been many. Dom?
There's been many, but can you think of one that's worse? Because, I mean, maybe an Indiana Jones 4 or something, or whatever. I mean,
the refrigerator scene.
Yeah.
All right, Dom, give us your number 5.
My number 5 is the character of Kathy, played by Shannon Elizabeth in the movie 13 Ghosts.
Yes, indeed.
This bitch is fucking useless.
She is, and she's very stupid.
Yeah, she's practically an adult, but she can't help her single dad take care of the house or her younger brother, which forces him to hire a live-in nanny, even though he can barely afford to make rent.
Even though she's like 36 at the time.
All she does is fuck up. She loses her brother, she wanders into trouble over and over again, and seriously, what is her obsession with fucking bathrooms? Like, the whole time,
it's got 11 bathrooms.
Like, having a house with a nice bathroom is more important to her than her family's life and safety. Maybe it's because she's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And
how many mirrors are there?
Yeah.
What's the lighting situation?
And the worst part is, she keeps her clothes on and she doesn't die. What the fuck is the point?
Yeah. My number 5, movie I just showed you at our last viewing party, based on an adaptation from Jack Ketchum, off of the novel Offspring. Stephen Carey. Stephen Carey is the husband of the woman where he says she doesn't like to get bit.
Oh,
Remember
yeah, that guy's a fucking tool.
Yeah, and in the car he picks up the hitchhiker and he's like, oh, blah blah blah. He starts hitting on her and she's not interested. Then he pulls out a flask and starts getting hammered drunk while he's driving her, and starts groping her like a fucking asshole. Inappropriate, Mr. Carey. And makes her throw her fucking bag out the window before he lets her go, and eventually helps cannibals hurt his own wife, the mother of his children. That's a douchebag.
Total douchebag.
Total douchebag. All right, David, what's your number 4?
I'm gonna go with, and I really, it's really hard for me to do this, but Wendy from the film of The Shining.
Yeah, fuck her.
Because And the main reason I'm going to say this is because I'm a huge fan. I'm one of the few people that does not like the film of The Shining.
You and me
I'm a
both.
huge fan of the novel. Yeah, and
I like both.
Wendy.
I love Stanley Kubrick as a director. I love him as visionary.
Well,
I think he's great. The movie's good. If he never knew the book existed, the movie would be amazing. But the book is different, and he does take some liberties. And so,
Putting in
and
black-
especially
that is true, but
olive oil.
that is true, but it's
Fucking Wendy.
right. Well, and Wendy in the novel is a strong character. You really relate to her, and it's one of the things that just drives me nuts about The Shining. On top of that, I just hate the fact that if you were interviewing Jack Nicholson for the job at the Overlook in that first scene, there's no goddamn way you're going to hire that guy. There's just no way. And so I guess you could almost put the guy who hires Jack Torrance too on the list. But yeah, I would say Wendy from The Shining, but mostly because Wendy from the book is such a better character.
Yeah,
and
more
then
strong
for that
female
reason.
character. Yeah.
Wendy from The Shining movie makes me think like if you created a Muppet, all it would be a stick with googly eyes that communicates entirely in shrill screams.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's painful to watch, and I do think that yes, The Shining movie is so much better if you've never read the book, but I just can't divorce the two, and The Shining. Yeah, I just and for that reason I'm gonna go Wendy.
Yeah, I'm in that boat with you too.
All right, Don, what's your number 4?
For my number 4, I actually have a doubleheader.
Okay.
Spencer, as played by Breckin Meyer in Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, and Freeberg from Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street stoners are the worst stoners on film.
They are.
They are
terrible.
clearly written by people who've never smoked weed in their life. Like, Carlos calls Spencer a hio at one point. Like, you're such a hio. Like, that's never been a term for stoner in the history of ever.
And then the other one, too, in Freddy vs. Jason, he sees the caterpillar thing. He's like, hey, bro, come back.
They treat weed like it's heroin or acid, which makes me think of Bob Saget in Half Baked, where he's like, I used to suck dick for coke. Now that's an addiction. You ever suck dick from marijuana? They play like mentally deficient rejects from Reaper Madness. They go off and get stoned at the worst possible times, often to the fatal detriment of their friends and themselves. Like, as a person who occasionally likes to partake in marijuana, I guarantee that if JD, you and I are ever in a weird-ass town where shit's all fucked up and our friends are disappearing, I will never wander off to get high.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, just fuck Nightmare on Elm Street stoners. They're the worst.
Dude, basically, okay, they're not on my list, but most characters from any Nightmare on Elm Street could pass the test.
Yeah.
They could be on the list. Most of them.
Everyone after like
and the parents,
the first
especially.
movie. Yeah, the parents are
and the
pretty
cops
bad.
and everyone.
Yeah, the Nightmare on Elm Street.
I thought John Saxton, though, I think his character, I think he was kind of relatable.
He was very well rounded. Yeah, and even
because I kind of felt bad for him.
Yeah, was
after 2 and beyond is when it starts getting a little hairy. Yeah. My number 4.
Well, and I'm sorry, but also like Wes Craven himself in A New Nightmare, I thought as a character, like I kind of like you should understand what's going on here, buddy.
Yeah.
I
think he tried to do what Stephen King did with The Dark Tower, where he wrote himself in there a little bit self-deprecating, but he didn't quite have the same amount of pathos that Stephen King did when he wrote himself into The Dark Tower.
Hey, guys, save it for the honorable mentions. There's always the honorable mentions. So, my number 4 is Ian Watkin as Lionel's Uncle Les in Dead Alive / Brain Dead.
What? No pudding?
No, that's not the same guy.
No?
That's just the guy at dinner. Ian Watkin is the guy that sucks on that like oxygen thing. You don't know what it is? He's like, you found your dad's old stag films, eh?
Okay.
And he has the fucking Elvis chops with the little fucking curly Q hair in the front.
Yeah.
And he's a total douchebag. He blackmails Lionel for money. Because he has his zombie dead mom in the basement trying to keep her from dying, and he blackmails him for the house, for all the money. You want the house? Yes. And the money? Yes.
Yeah.
And then he also sets about to try to like rape every girl at the party scene. He's terrible.
Yeah.
Come here. He eventually gets his head ripped with his spine out of his body, and stays that way as a zombie.
That's right.
And I hate that motherfucker.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck him and his moles. Fuck him and all of his moles.
Each one individually.
Yeah, each one of his moles I hate. The next more than the previous. But, okay. Number 3.
So I'm gonna go with, and well, he did die in the movie, but Paul Reiser's character in Aliens.
Oh yeah,
is
what a
just
douche.
yeah, he is so bad, and Paul Reiser did a great job playing him, but just towing the company line, just making excuses for everybody, just the perfect corporate stooge. He was awful character, and really needed to go.
Yeah, and he could be
And,
number 1 on anybody's list. Like, he could be number 1 on anybody's
Yeah,
list. He's on my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shit, he could
yeah,
easily
he's
be a
definitely-
0 on anyone's list.
True.
Well, I mean, but but even when he's supposed to be the nice guy at the beginning, when he's talking to Ripley, he brings Jonesy in. It's like he already is just swarmy and gross, like from the beginning. Just don't trust him, and the fact that he keeps calling Ripley kiddo. Dude, she's like 85 years older than you because she's been asleep forever, but you don't get the right to call Ripley kiddo.
Condescending
and for
prick.
nothing. Yeah, exactly. And for nothing, I mean, just the kiddo thing, like, that's enough.
Yeah, he
All
is
right,
a douchebag. All right, Dom, what's yours?
My number 3 is Mrs. Carmody, played by the unfortunately named Marcia Gay Harden in The Mist.
Okay, that is my number 2.
Okay.
So let's wait.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So my number 3 is J.P. Monroe, the club owner from Hellraiser 3. The spoiled little fucking rich kid.
Yep.
All he wants to do is every night he has a different girl come up from the club to his room.
Yeah.
Till Pinhead, or Hell Priest, as some people call him, namely Clive Barker.
Right. Who probably knows the right answer to that
Probably,
question.
yeah. I bet Clive Barker could tell you the right answer. Anything Hellraiser related.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of, have you guys read the Scarlet Gospels?
Not yet.
no, I have not read that. That's the end, right? Isn't it the end of all the Cenobites? And
Yeah, it's Clive Barker's end to it, supposedly. Yeah, it's terrible.
Really?
It's very upsetting. A lot of people believe that he had it ghost written for him. There's only certain parts that really like sound like Clive Barker at all.
That's a
his descriptions and shit. Hellbound Heart is awesome. And
Yeah.
Cabal is awesome.
Yeah,
Hellbound Heart is better than Hellraiser. Cabal is better than Nightbreed. Like
for sure.
He's a great writer, and he's a great human being too. I love Clive Barker.
Yeah, I love Clive too, and had the chance to meet him a couple times. But Hellbound Heart, I think, it stands up equally to Hellraiser. But I know we're talking about a character from Hellraiser 3, which has nothing to do with the original 2.
I know, yeah.
Just a little aside, and I just wondered if you had read those yet.
No, I've actually been wanting to, but that's not a ringing endorsement. You know?
But when you talk about the Hell Priest, there's a lot of talk about the Hell Priest in Scarlet Gospels. So, and as a matter of fact, one of the better chapters in the book does definitely deal with where that name comes from. So
awesome.
But not to get totally sidetracked.
We're known for tangents on this show.
Yeah,
All right,
I've noticed that in listening.
Number 2. You're the guest. Give us your number 2.
Well, I was gonna go with the headphones guy, the researcher who insisted on leaving in Prince of Darkness, because Well, first of all, I had to bring up Prince of Darkness because Prince of Darkness is my all-time favorite horror movie ever.
Yeah, I love it.
I had the chance last year to actually see a screening of Prince of Darkness in the church where it was filmed.
Wow.
Which was amazing. But I mean, come on, guy. They've got Satan in a can, and you're able to do research on him, and you got something better to do. So yeah, you're a researcher. You got Satan in a can. Where are you going? What
Research,
is so important? Yeah, like
fuck this.
what do you
I'm
have
outta
to do? And for that reason, I'm pretty happy that Alice Cooper took care of business when he stepped out the door. But and what was really cool too, when we first pulled up to that church where they had the screening, is we actually got to walk the alley where that scene was filmed. And because I've always just, like, even as a little kid, it bothered me that when I saw that movie, that he was just leaving. Like, seriously, like, what do you have to do? It's so important
my dog.
that you can't. Right. Everybody else is hanging out and taking care of business. Even the annoying guy who's humming the jazz trumpet thing the whole time, like, he doesn't have anything better to do. Where does this guy have to go? And so yeah, I put that guy on my list. I don't know what his name is, but he's the researcher and he's listening. Interesting trivia is he's listening to Alice Cooper on his headphones when Alice Cooper sticks a bike through him.
That's awesome.
In the movie. Yeah. Prince of Darkness, definitely my all-time favorite horror movie. It's not John Carpenter's best, but it's definitely my favorite.
It's a great movie, yeah.
My favorite is In the Mouth of Madness of his. I love that movie.
That is a great movie. I don't think it holds up as well as some of his earlier films, but yeah, I love
The Thing is my favorite.
It's your favorite too?
Well, The Thing is
The Thing is, yeah.
Oh, The Thing? Yeah.
The Thing is his best. But to me, just personally, Prince of Darkness, because it combines science fiction, it combines horror, the mood, the atmosphere. You got Donald Pleasance, you got the whole surreal thing with the mirrors and the time traveling nanotechnology and
sure.
The tachyons. Excuse me, not nanotech. The tachyons and it's such a crazy awesome movie. One of my favorite writers, Robert Johnson, he wrote a really amazing book called Skullcrack City last year. Jeremy is a huge Prince of Darkness fan, and we both this is a movie that defined our middle school, and I got a chance to see it on the big screen sitting next to Jeremy.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And we just really geeked out on it, and I moved back to California, then had the experience of seeing it in the church with him, and or see it in the church, and I really wish I had gotten the experience to see it with Jeremy. But your listeners might really appreciate Jeremy's books as well. Skullcrack City, super good stuff.
Okay, well, maybe we'll share the link for that as well. So
I want to meet the person who thinks their favorite John Carpenter movie is Ghosts of Mars.
Yeah, well, Ghosts of Mars, it's funny. I saw that opening night, and I was exhausted. And, it was before we'd all started to figure out that Carpenter had ran out of gas. And but the thing about Ghosts of Mars, I think the worst thing in Ghosts of Mars is the Martian, quote, language, which is just basically somebody going, and they put subtitles underneath it.
Right.
And they couldn't even bother to create a language. And, it's depressing to me. First of all, Ghost of Mars is just a remake of Assault on Precinct 13, which is just a remake of High Noon. And, so, put some thought into it at least, or try. And, what a waste of having Anthrax on your soundtrack. And it just,
All right, number
it's
two.
just a bummer.
Yeah. My number 2 is Franklin, played by Paul A. Partain in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I've never hated a paraplegic guy so much.
Fuck Franklin right in his wheelchair-bound ass with a hot pepper. We get it that your life sucks and you don't want to be on a road trip, but Jesus fucking Christ, you have to constantly whine in your shrill, nasal, annoying voice about everything.
He is a bitch. He's the stereotype and the prototype for a fucking asshole, bitch-ass character.
Yeah.
He is a douchebag. He's my first honorable mention. He's not on my list, believe it or not. But
he brought down every scene that he was in and should have died in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And also, why is this sick fuck so excited about slaughterhouses? When he heard there were slaughterhouses nearby, he looked like he wanted to start jacking off.
Yeah.
Like, there's something wrong with this dude. And Leatherface became my personal hero when he chainsawed that fat fuck waste of space to death.
It was awesome. Great. Well,
Franklin is one of those characters, and I certainly understand where you're coming from. He's definitely, I feel sorry for Franklin that, he's had a rough go of things, but do we really know, was he born that way? Or did that happen to him? I don't know.
It probably happened to him with him digging around in trying to find a slaughterhouse and go jerk off on some dead chickens, and he fucking fell off a cliff and end up paraplegic, and I don't feel sorry for him for that.
And not only that, if it happened to him, you ever see that documentary about the guys who play wheelchair rugby? You ever see that? It's called like Murder Ball.
Right. Yeah, those guys are hardcore. Franklin could have been one of those guys.
That's taking something that's handed down to you and still trying to go.
Yeah, it's taking lemons and making lemonade.
Yeah,
and Franklin took lemons and made shit.
I feel bad for people who are paralyzed and stuff, but I don't feel bad for people with that fucking attitude.
Yeah.
That attitude has to go, whether you're fully functioning, paralyzed, whether you're a fetus. If you have that attitude and you're a fetus, I will kick you. I will punch you.
Yeah, his attitude was definitely what made him so repulsive. And I think to the vegan in me, just like his excitement over the slaughterhouse thing, like was really uncomfortable but I think that's part of the message that Tobe Hooper was going for with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Interesting fact about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that when Tobe Hooper was a film student and was working on that, one of his fellow film students was the Hong Kong director Choi Hark, and he showed a rough cut to Choi Hark and got notes on Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the future Steven Spielberg of Hong Kong.
Wow.
Choi Hark. And who also made one of his earliest films in Hong Kong was a cannibal comedy called We're Going to Eat You. That's the literal translation, which is one of the few Choi Hark movies that is just almost absolutely lost. It's very hard to find. When I lived in Portland, I rented it at Movie Madness, and I know why you can't find that movie very easily. It's not very good. But I'm thinking that Choi Hark just, he watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre and he saw his fellow student just like blow up, and he was thinking, I gotta do a cannibal movie.
I gotta ride these coattails.
Right.
Yeah. So my number 2, as we previously talked about, is Marcia Gay Harden as Mrs. Carmody in The Mist.
Histrionic, Bible-thumping, rancid bag of moose shit who was probably waiting her whole life just to sacrifice a kid.
Yeah.
That fucking snail trail can fucking... I hate her so much.
Me too. There's nothing worse than me. Nothing gets my goat more than someone with their fucking religion shoving it down your throat, and in a way that's oppressive. You can believe whatever you want to believe. Freedom to believe whatever you want to believe. But when you sit there and you harp on people like that and you turn a mob mentality, that's why there's fucking bombs and shootings.
And how quick did she jump to killing a kid?
Yes, exactly. Oh, I know what we need. We need to sacrifice this child. That's going to help us.
Well,
go ahead.
The Mist is one of my favorite Stephen King novellas, and I definitely appreciate it. But now that I'm thinking about it, she's not a very believable character.
No, she's not. It's not. But she is a douchebag, and this is what it's all about.
Yeah, because she turns so quickly. To doing this, and it's very hard for me to, I never would have thought about it before because it always just seemed believable to me when I was reading it. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's to kind of get into Mrs. Carmody's headspace is kind of a hard thing to do.
For sure.
She was
I don't really see it.
One of the least convincing prophets ever. Like, unless her prophecy was, I'm going to act like a crazy bitch, then get shot in the face, then there's nothing believable about it. And so, even more than her, fuck all the people who bought into her shit.
For sure, yeah. Those people deserve to be on the list as well. And, interesting fact, do you know that, David, being a fan of the novella, you know the original ending as opposed to the movie. Do you know that
right.
Frank Darabont, when he told Stephen King about his ending, he's like, what about this? Stephen King said, that is so much better than mine. I would have wrote that in the book if I thought about it. Do it. That's so much better.
And it's a great ending.
Well, it is.
It's a soul-wrenching ending.
Yeah.
It is a soul-crunching ending. It's a great ending, but I will raise you one more interesting fact on the ending of The Mist, which is that Dimension Films offered Frank Darabont almost $15 million more to change the ending, to make it less depressing.
Yeah,
and
it's more
he
than
actually
that.
He took a lower budget to maintain that ending.
That's
and
integrity. That's awesome.
And I really love that ending, and I really think that I don't know if you were for me that weekend. And this was early on in horror community, Facebook and all that. But the weekend that The Mist came out, people were nonstop talking about that ending.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't get it at the video store. This was in the days of video store. Hollywood Video, you couldn't rent the VHS tape of it. It was completely gone. Every time I went in there, it was a struggle for me to watch that movie. I didn't see it in the theater, but when I tried to watch it, you could not get it.
Well, and I remember for one, one of my writing heroes, John Shirley. I mean, he's written some of the most hardcore horror novels out there, but he just absolutely despised the ending of The Mist because it really struck a chord with him. The idea that this father would kill his own child.
Spoiler alert!
Just I'm assuming people have seen The Mist at this point, But yeah, and getting back to the D-bag in question, Mrs. Carmody, is that if you think about it, like the decision that the father makes at the end, Mrs. Carmody is, getting this whole community to rally around this idea that we got to throw somebody out towards the monsters, and that'll somehow make them. It's just. Yeah, she's a terrible character, and the idea that people would follow her is I think, somewhat, it's not believable, but at the same point, I understand the point the King was trying to make, and I'll go with it still.
We say it's not believable, but there's also people in this world willing to vote for Donald Trump. So
that's true.
And there's also people willing to blow themselves up, willing to crash planes into buildings, willing to shoot up nightclubs. I mean, religious fanaticism, there's nothing that someone who has a low intelligence that is spoon-fed this idea is not willing to do when it all comes down to it. Yeah. And for her, religion is a quest for power in my eyes. Religion is it's a tool to control the masses. She sees her opportunity. This is why it's believable to me. The turn is too quick, but it's believable to me because she's saying, oh, I've always wanted to be this religious figure.
Like she's been
I'm religious. I want people to follow me. Now's my chance. Yeah. Look at all this tragedy. I'm going to capitalize. Let's sacrifice the kid. Yeah. So to me, that part is believable, but the turn so quickly, it would take more time. People would have to be.
I think if The Mist wasn't a novella and was one of his full-length novels, and we had more in-depth information,
or a miniseries. If it was a movie instead of a movie, if it was a miniseries,
that's what
we
would get.
Further.
Well, Spike TV is developing a TV show based on The Mist.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show,
Yeah. I just saw on YouTube Stephen King being interviewed by George R.R. Martin from like 2 days ago this morning. And he was talking about the Mist TV series, and he said that they were doing some really interesting things to extend the story. And, it's funny, like some of his of all the stories to try to make TV series, okay, fine, make a TV series out of it. But I felt the movie was just fine, and I don't really know that we need an extension of that story.
Yeah, it worries me more than
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything's a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, we are. We're a glutton for punishment. That's our tagline here. We watch these fucking remakes of Martyrs, things like that just devastate us. And
we go home crying and cutting ourselves.
we do, and then we talk about it here on this here show. So back to a positive note. Give us your number 2.
Number 1.
Number 1?
We're on number 1 now.
Oh, number 1.
I'm going to go with the Swedish research team who found the thing. Okay, I was going to go somewhere else, but I'm going to go with the Swedish research team who found the thing.
Yeah, they
basically,
could have prevented a whole lot of bullshit.
They could have prevented a whole lot of bullshit. If you see something that is frozen under the ice that's been there for that long, take a little bit of caution. They're probably tied with the person the researcher that looked at the space snake and Prometheus. Show some, judgment. Be careful.
Professionalism.
Just really think about it before you thaw this thing out, because, wow, this is a major discovery. Take your time with it. You don't have to rush these things, because honestly, that Kurt Russell and Keith David, one of them got back to, in that universe, they got back and the thing took over everything, because Carpenter did say it was a part of his Apocalypse trilogy.
Right.
So, and really it all comes down to that Swedish team not taking their time. So I'm going to say, they did all get it, right? They did all go, but it's really kind of frustrating, what they did.
Yeah.
So
they handled it with all of the care and precision of the Swedish chef. I just picture them dancing around the ice sculpture, bork, 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 throwing things around, setting monsters loose.
All right, Don, what's your number 1?
My number 1, someone we mentioned a couple times on the show before, Samuel Noah Wiseman from The Babadook.
Oh, it's on my honorable mentions. That is the little kid I want to slap right across his stupid face.
I know that I put Samuel on my honorable mention for top 5 kids, but that was more because I like the movie The Babadook, and Sam fulfills his role perfectly.
Yeah, but you hate him.
Yeah, he's the epitome of shitty kid. God, he's a merciless fucking snob. He's whiny, he's annoying, he's disobedient, he's violent, and he's relentlessly attention-seeking. And even when he tries to be cute and loving, you just want to smack the bejesus out of him. Every time he opens his mouth, you want to shove a fist down it. I hate the way he says Babadook.
Yeah, I hate the way he talks to his mom. You don't talk to your mom that way.
Yeah. Some people have said that the Babadook...
His girlish scream?
Yeah, his girlish scream and his kicking the chair.
Yeah.
God, his kicking the chair scene made me want to fucking...
Yeah.
I would, if I don't believe in child abuse, but I might make an exception for him. And people have said that The Babadook is a bad movie because once Amelia loses her shit, you can't feel sorry for Sam and her victim. But I think that's a misunderstanding. I think that this movie did away with the traditional victim-victimizer roles.
It's switched.
Yeah, and
I don't 180.
I don't think you're ever supposed to feel sorry for Sam. I think he's the bad guy the whole way through, even when Amelia is at the height of her insanity. And the conflict isn't about Amelia and Sam. It's about Amelia's maternal instincts versus her frustration and depression and anger with having this shitty-ass kid. You were never supposed to sympathize with him. Because The Babadook is about accepting the things you can't change. That's the real point. But it's a shame that Amelia didn't change a thing that she could not accept by selling Sam to the circus. Don't get me wrong. Babadook is a very good movie. I'd even call it great, but it would be a fucking masterpiece if Sam was eaten by wolves at the end.
Yeah, something like that.
Fuck that little shit stain.
Run over by a steamroller.
Yeah, just out of nowhere. Like he's in the backyard doing his magic show for his mom, and everything's cute and happy, and all of a sudden a fucking asteroid hits him, or a pterodactyl swoops down and rips him in half.
Yeah.
That would have been the best movie to that ending. Ending
it
that
is,
movie
seriously,
ever.
because he needs to die. Seriously.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe there'll be a Babadook 2 with Sam as an adult and he's just as much of a douchebag. Like they weren't comfortable with killing the kid, but they'll have him grow up and he'll still be like riding in a car seat in the back seat of his mom's car, kicking it at 35 years old, screaming like a woman, and he'll just take a rocket launcher to the face or something.
I will see your Samuel.
Okay.
And I will raise you a Vukmir.
Vukmir.
The director, the porn director in a Serbian film.
Yeah, that guy's a douchebag.
I've created a new genre. Newborn porn. That guy is an asshole. Anyone who tricks their brother-in-law into fucking to death their nephew.
He was their brother-in-law? I didn't catch that.
The brother-in-law of the wife, wasn't he?
Really?
There's some kind of incestual relation there.
I'll take your word for it. I just never caught it.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Okay.
Might be wrong.
I mean, either way.
He's an asshole.
Okay.
I have avoided the Serbian film like a plague for the main reason that my editor at Deadite, Jeff Burke, is just such a huge fan of the movie. It kind of makes me nervous.
You need to see
because,
it. You need to see it. It's an experience. It's not a film. It's an experience.
And the thing about it is
I've sat through Martyrs, and I've sat through some pretty rough films, but I can't.
Yeah. The thing about a Serbian film's gore and all the sick stuff that happens is most of it happens off camera, and it's either actor reaction or sound effects.
But everything is extremely high budget and well done.
And so it works in your imagination, which makes it even more fucked up. Like, you don't actually see a guy putting his dick in and out of a newborn baby, but you hear it and you see the lead actor's reaction to it, and that's that would sell it better than...
It's terrible.
Yeah.
He's the person that needed to die the most out of the history of any film, horror or otherwise. When I think about it, he needs to die.
Yeah. Well,
that's why he's my number one.
What we need to do is we need to turn him loose on Sam from the Babadook. And then we kill him. like
terrible, but somewhat right.
They both get eaten by a dinosaur.
All right, Don, we'll give you your honorable mentions.
I've got Trey and Freddy vs. Jason, the boyfriend who doesn't want to cuddle.
Yeah. He says, "Hey, don't make me ask you twice."
Yeah. and what's that actress's name? She was in American Mary also. She plays Gib in that. She has the amazing boobs.
Catherine Isabel.
Because if Catherine Isabel wanted to cuddle with me, I don't care if I'm on fire. I'm taking that.
Put me out.
But he gets broken in half in the bed by Jason and stabbed to death, and
he gets his comeuppance. That's for sure.
Also, Harry in Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
The dad in the basement. Fuck that racist, entitled prick. Especially because his daughter was already dead.
That guy sucks.
Fuck that guy.
That guy really sucks.
Carl from The Walking Dead.
It is a TV series, but I fucking hate Carl.
That's why
I also hate Rick.
Mention. That's why it's honorable mention instead of on the list, because Carl would probably be my number 2 if it wasn't a TV show.
Yeah.
But God, he just goes from whiny to emo to. Why can't he die?
Yeah, he does.
Why of all the people that
his hair is getting more emo as the season progresses.
Wendy Torrance from The Shining, who we've already discussed. Micah from Paranormal Activity.
All Paranormal Activity male leads.
Actually, the Marked Ones was a good movie. That's
the best one to me. Yeah.
But God, fucking Micah, you hit a point where you got to stop and you just got to leave the house and you got to stop filming things and you got to stop fucking with the demon. And he never hits that point.
Yeah.
And my final honorable mention is Heather from the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Snot-nosed fucking... I mean, at least she realizes that she fucked up in the end before she gets whatever happens to her. But goddamn, the whole movie through, just pushing and pushing and pushing. Your documentary about walking in the woods isn't that important when your friends are fucking missing.
That's true. So, my honorable mentions, some have been talked about so far. Franklin, Texas Chainsaw.
Fuck 'em.
One that was not mentioned, I love the movie Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt of Demon Knight.
Great
and
movie.
Roach, the character of Roach.
Great movie.
Thomas Hayden Church. What a douchebag. He is a douchebag. And the same goes with the mailman. He is a douchebag as well. Wally. So, Noah Wiseman as Sam in the Babadook. Fuck that kid. Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. There's a deputy in that movie. Deputy Rick. Wherever the red dot goes, you bang. He puts this laser sensor on his pistol that's the size of like a super soaker container. It looks so unconvincing and produces one tiny little red dot, and he's obsessed with it, and I fucking hate that guy. We also have Anthony Heald as Dr. Chilton in Silence of the Lambs. Fuck that guy. Seriously. Again, as mentioned on David's list, Paul Reiser is Burke in Aliens, corporate douchebag. One that we talked about, this is the reason we thought of this list, was we talked a little bit about Gremlins. Mm-hmm. And Mrs. Deagle that wants to kill the dog, and she's rich. Fuck that bitch, seriously. She's terrible.
Oh, terrible character. Yeah. Yeah.
Joey Kern as Jeff in Cabin Fever, the blonde guy from Super Troopers.
Yeah.
He's
the guy who wants to go shoot squirrels because they're gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Officer Mooney in Killer Clowns. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Henry Bowers in It. Stephen King's It.
Yeah.
Henry Bowers. What a little bully. Bullies are the biggest douchebags.
Yeah.
Of all time. Speaking of another bully, the dad in Creepshow that punishes his kid.
You hate that guy. You have like a personal vendetta against that guy.
Seriously, I really do. And then we have Brad the...
You know who...
Go ahead.
You know who plays the kid in Creepshow, right?
Who?
Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, who's now an author and just released a post-apocalyptic novel.
Son. I actually have a couple of his books, and I never knew he was his son, actually.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I have
it's Joe Hill.
Brad, the douchebag boyfriend from Night of the Creeps. He's the jock boyfriend guy. Gets his come up.
Oh, terrible.
And my final honorable mention, we've banned the movie. It cannot be on my top 5 list because I mention it way too much because it's my favorite film of all time.
I thought you were going to say Dennis.
But Dr. Carl Hill from Reanimator.
Yep.
Mr. West, I suggest you get yourself a pen.
Well, he gets his come up
even in death with a severed head, he's still holding a severed head to go down on a college co-ed that he has the hots for.
Even in death, he is a douchebag.
Even in death, he's cunnilingus raping.
Yeah.
With a severed head.
Yep.
I hate that motherfucker so much. He would have been my number 1 if it wasn't for the ban on Reanimator.
Right. The Rebanimator.
The Rebanimator. Talked about it too much on this show. I will bring it up only in honorable mentions.
He's not allowed to bring up Reanimator on top 5, and I'm not allowed to bring up Dennis from Cabin Fever.
I gotcha.
I'm building a religion around Dennis. So.
All right, David. Well,
I can't stand Cabin Fever. I'm not a big fan of that movie, but
the
I don't know if you are. But
the pancakes.
I like Dennis. That's all I care about.
Okay, David Agernoff. Been a pleasure having you here on Postmortem.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for coming in and promoting your stuff. We will link to it on our website. You guys can click through our Amazon banner. You can search up Boot Boys of the Wolf Reich. You can search up all of his many fine books.
If you like horror, if you like punk, if you like horror punk,
exactly. Man. And keep an eye out for Punk Rock Ghost Story. I'm looking forward to that one.
Me too.
Yeah, that's should be out in the fall, and it'll be from Deadites. So, if you're following Deadite, you'll get it. You'll get the information.
All right, we will cut it. Thanks again for being on. We really appreciate having you here on Postmortem.
And
yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
As we always close the show, as H.P. Lovecraft once said, in the throes of passion, if it smells like fish,
throw the fucker back.